I'm Rodin Solaro, and the night I learned the truth, my world didn't just break, it exploded. I watched the woman I trusted betray me in the most humiliating way. But what she didn't know is how far karma travels when it comes home. This is how I took everything back. Before I dive in, hit like, share this story, and subscribe. You won't want to miss what happened next. My name is Rodin Solaro, and before everything fell apart, my life felt almost peaceful in a way that scares me now. You never realize how fragile comfort is until the universe decides to snatch it out of your hands. Back then, my mornings started with a slow breath, a warm cup of coffee, the soft illusion that the person beside me was my safe place. I used to believe trust was simple, something you gave without counting the risks. Lunara Vale was the center of that belief. She had this calm smile that made me think I'd finally found someone who wouldn't hurt me. I didn't see her as perfect, just perfectly mine. We were building a life together, or at least that's what I thought. She'd talk about her dreams, her goals, her plans, and I'd listen with the kind of pride a man feels when he thinks he chose right. I was proud of us, proud of her. And I was blind in the way love fools you into thinking loyalty is guaranteed. I worked hard, tried to build stability, tried to be the kind of man who removes worries rather than adds them. I didn't know in those quiet moments that fate was slowly rearranging everything behind my back. I didn't know trust had an expiration date. I didn't know the person I held closest was quietly walking away from me, one lie at a time. But at that time, I was at peace. I didn't question why her hugs felt quicker, why her laughter didn't linger, or why my heart sometimes whispered that something felt off. I ignored it. I silenced every instinct. I told myself, love fixes everything. I didn't realize love means nothing when the other person stops choosing you. The first cracks didn't appear like explosions, they showed up like whispers. Quiet, small, easy to ignore. At first, it was just Lunara becoming harder to reach. Her phone, once left casually on the table, was suddenly always upside down. Always locked, always held a little too close to her chest. I told myself it was stress, new responsibilities, the pressure she kept talking about. And maybe I wanted desperately to believe that, because the alternative felt like poison I wasn't ready to taste. I remember the way her smile started fading, not all at once, but in small pieces, like someone slowly erasing her warmth with the back of a pencil. She used to talk, really talk, with enthusiasm and fire. Now her words felt short, rehearsed, like she was answering questions she didn't want me to ask. And the worst part, I kept telling myself it was normal. Every couple goes through dull moments. Every relationship has its slow days. Right, but something was different. Something heavy. Something unspoken. Nights became the hardest. She'd step out onto the balcony to take work calls, whispering with a tone I hadn't heard before, soft, but not the kind meant for me. I'd lie there, pretending not to notice the shift in her breathing when she walked back inside, pretending not to see the guilt flicker across her eyes before she forced a smile. My chest started carrying this strange weight, the kind that whispers, something is wrong and you know it. But every time that thought crawled in, I buried it under hope. I told myself love deserves patience. I told myself trust means believing the best, even when the evidence feels otherwise. But deep inside, a storm was forming. One I knew I couldn't outrun forever. The lie didn't arrive loudly. It came wrapped in a soft voice, the kind people use when they want you to believe every word without thinking twice. Lunara told me she had a 3-day work retreat, something about team building, seminars, late meetings. She said it casually, almost too casually, like she'd practiced it in her head before facing me. I nodded, pretending everything made sense. But somewhere in my chest, something twisted. Not enough to call it pain, but enough to call it warning. She packed lightly, too lightly for 3 days away. No extra shoes, no files, not even her laptop. When I pointed it out, she laughed and said, "It's all provided there." A strange answer, but I swallowed it. I chose faith over logic, like a fool who believes trust is stronger than doubt. When she left, I watched her car disappear down the road. Unaware that she was leaving more than our driveway, she was slipping out of the truth itself. The truth, however, has its own timing. The next afternoon, I met my friend Release, someone who never sugarcoated anything. In the middle of our conversation, he mentioned he'd seen Lunara earlier that day, at a cafe not far from our home. I felt a chill spread through my body, slow and paralyzing. At first, I brushed it off as a coincidence. Maybe she forgot something. Maybe she returned briefly. Maybe, but the lie was already unraveling. Rayleigh described her outfit, her bag, even the way she laughed. And every detail matched what she wore when she supposedly left for that retreat. In that moment, a quiet crack became a break. I felt something inside me shift, like trust snapping in half. That was the moment I knew something far darker was waiting for me just ahead. I don't remember the drive home that night tonally, the feeling that something was dragging me forward. Like fate had already decided I'd suffer whether I stopped or not. My hands trembled on the wheel, my heartbeat felt too loud, and every breath carried the weight of a truth I wasn't ready to face. But I kept going. I needed answers, even if they destroyed me. When I reached home, the lights were on. That alone shattered me. She was supposed to be hours away. Miles away. Not inside our house, living a life I no longer recognized. My chest tightened as I walked toward the door, every step heavier than the last. The moment I opened it, laughter drifted through the hallway. A man's laughter. Deep, comfortable, familiar in a way that stabbed me straight through the ribs. I froze. For a few seconds, my body refused to move. My mind kept whispering, no, it can't be. But reality doesn't wait for our permission. I walked in. And there she was, Lunara, sitting on the sofa beside Kavan Dresden. The coworker she always insisted was just a colleague. Their closeness wasn't innocent. Their smiles weren't friendly. Their eyes weren't guilty. Not until they saw me standing there. The room went silent, but inside me, everything was crashing. I asked one question. I don't even remember the words, only the sound of my voice cracking like glass. Lunara jumped to defense, stammering excuses, while Kavan leaned back with a smirk that made something dark rise inside me. My anger exploded, not at her, not at him, but at the betrayal itself. A glass slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. Lunara retaliated with a slap that snapped my head to the side, and something inside me broke with it. That was the night I lost the version of myself who believed love was enough. After that slap, the house didn't feel like my home anymore. It felt like a battlefield still shaking from debris. Lunara kept talking, fast, scattered, panicked, but her words didn't reach me. They drifted around the room like smoke from something already burned to ashes. All I could hear was my heartbeat pounding in my ears, reminding me that whatever we once were had already died. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time I didn't recognize the woman standing in front of me. Her face was twisted between guilt and arrogance, between fear and defiance. She wasn't the Lunara who promised loyalty. She wasn't the woman I held at my lowest. She wasn't the safe place I once believed in. She was a stranger wearing the memory of someone I loved. Kavan stood there too, shifting uncomfortably as if my pain was an inconvenience he wanted to step over. I felt something inside me collapse, not just trust, not just hope, but the part of me that believed I wasn't replaceable. My chest tightened until breathing felt like punishment. Without saying another word, I walked toward the door. Lunara grabbed my arm, begging, defending, accusing, her voice shaking in every direction. But I was already gone inside. I gently pulled away, not with anger, but with something far heavier, finality. Stepping outside felt like stepping into cold water after a fire. The night was quiet, too quiet for what had just happened. I walked with no destination, my legs moving as if trying to outrun the memory of that room. The streetlights blurred through my tears, and for the first time in years, I felt truly alone. That night, I didn't go home, because home no longer existed where she stood. The morning after that night felt unreal, like waking up inside someone else's life. I opened my eyes in a friend's spare room, lying on a mattress that wasn't mine, staring at a ceiling that didn't belong to me. Everything felt borrowed except the pain. That part was painfully mine. It sat heavy on my chest, pressing down like a stone I couldn't lift. My phone was flooded with messages from Lunera. Apologies. Blame. Confusion. Long. Paragraphs that twisted from, "I'm sorry" to "you." Pushed me to this, and then back to "please come home." Each one felt like a fresh cut. I didn't reply. I couldn't. My hands shook too much to type anything real. By noon, the news had spread. Friends called. Some pitied me. Some were shocked. Some whispered advice I didn't ask for. And even though they meant well, every word felt like salt dragged across an open wound. The humiliation wasn't in the betrayal itself. It was in realizing how many people now knew I wasn't enough for her. That illusion shattered something deep inside me. For days, I barely slept. I'd close my eyes, and the image of them on the sofa played like a cursed loop I couldn't escape. I tried shouting into a pillow, tried breaking old pictures, tried pretending I didn't care. But heartbreak isn't something you outrun. It sits with you. It waits for you in every silent moment. In the middle of that emotional wreckage came the moment that hurt the most. I almost texted her. Not out of love, but out of weakness. Out of fear of being alone. Out of wanting something familiar, even if it was broken. But I stopped myself. Because that pause, small, fragile, trembling, was the first hint that healing had started. And I wasn't ready to lose that. Rock bottom is strange. It doesn't announce itself with explosions. It just sits there quietly, waiting for you to realize you've stopped sinking. And once I hit that point, something inside me shifted. I didn't rise because I was strong. I rose because staying broken felt worse than trying. The first step was simple. I got out of bed. Not gracefully, not confidently, but I got up. I started moving. I went for a walk, then another, then another. The world looked different, colder, sharper, but somehow clearer. Pain has a way of sharpening your vision. I joined a gym not because I wanted a new body, but because I needed a place to pour all the anger that had nowhere else to go. Every drop of sweat felt like a fragment of betrayal leaving my system. Every rep felt like reclaiming something she took from me. Slowly, my shoulders straightened. My voice grew steadier. My reflection stopped looking like a ghost of who I used to be. I focused harder on my work. Projects I ignored suddenly became opportunities. I pushed myself, stayed late, took risks I once feared. Success didn't heal me, but it reminded me that my worth wasn't tied to someone who didn't value it. I reached out to people who genuinely cared. Old friends, family, people I had drifted from while trying to hold a dying relationship together. Their support didn't fix everything, but it gave me a foundation stronger than any apology Lunera tried to offer. And one day, without even realizing it, I laughed for the first time since everything fell apart. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was small, real, honest. That moment told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't rebuilding myself. I was becoming someone stronger than the man she destroyed. Karma doesn't rush. It waits. It watches. And when it finally arrives, it doesn't knock. It breaks the door down. For weeks, I kept my distance from Lunera. I didn't respond to her messages, didn't answer her calls, didn't fall for her late-night voice notes filled with guilt, tears, and half-truths. Silence became my shield. And she hated it. That silence was the beginning of her unraveling. It started at her job. Rumors spread faster than wildfire whispers about her and Caven, about inappropriate boundaries, about secrets she thought she'd buried deep. People who once praised her now avoided her. The respect she worked years to build evaporated in days. It wasn't because of me. I didn't expose her. Karma did. Kavan, the man she risked everything for, showed his real face too. The same smirk that stabbed me the night I found them turned on her. When the rumors intensified and pressure grew, he dropped her without hesitation. Blocked her. Ignored her. Moved on like she was a temporary distraction he was done with. And suddenly, the person she betrayed me for became the person who abandoned her. Her messages to me changed. From blame to apology, from apology to desperation, from desperation to begging. She said she missed me. She said she made a mistake. She said losing me hurt more than she expected. She said her life was falling apart. Every part of me remembered the night I walked in and watched her destroy our home with a single choice. I remembered the slap, the smirk, the silence afterward. So when I saw her standing outside my building one evening broken, crying, trembling, I realized something. This wasn't revenge. This was balance. This was the universe returning everything she sent into the world. And for the first time, I felt nothing at all. When I finally agreed to meet Lunara, it wasn't out of love or anger or curiosity. It was closure, quiet, overdue, inevitable. We met in a small cafe tucked between two silent streets. I arrived before her. My hands were steady. My heartbeat was calm. For the first time in months, I felt completely in control. She walked in looking smaller than I remembered, not physically, but emotionally, like life had shrunk her from the inside. Her eyes were red, her voice fragile when she whispered my name. I didn't respond. I simply looked at her and waited. She talked first. She apologized, stumbled through explanations, rewrote her excuses, rewrote her regrets. She said losing me shattered her. She said Kavan tricked her. She said she didn't know what she was thinking. Every word felt like she was trying to glue the pieces of a broken vase back together. Without realizing the cracks had already turned to dust, I listened, quietly, patiently, almost coldly. When she was done, she reached for my hand. I pulled it back. And finally I spoke. "I'm not here to punish you," I told her. "You already did that yourself. I'm not here to understand what you did. I lived it. I felt it. I survived it. I'm here to say something simple, something I couldn't say the night everything broke." She leaned forward, desperate. "What?" she whispered. "That version of me, the man who trusted you, who believed in you, who loved you without fear, he doesn't exist anymore. You didn't just betray me, you ended us." Her tears fell, but my heart didn't move. I stood up, calm, certain, free. "Goodbye, Lunara." And as I walked away, I realized the truth. This wasn't her ending. It was my beginning. Walking away from Lunara felt lighter than I imagined. For the first time in months, I breathed without holding on to anger, without clutching pain like a lifeline. Every step forward was a reminder that the life I lost to betrayal wasn't gonna, was waiting for me to claim it back. I realized something vital. Nothing she did could define me anymore. Only I could do that. I rebuilt slowly, carefully, like someone reconstructing a house from scattered bricks. I focused on myself, my health, my mind, my passions. I reconnected with friends I had neglected, strengthened ties that had frayed, and found solace in moments I had overlooked. Every laugh, every quiet evening, every sunrise I watched alone reminded me that I was reclaiming the parts of myself I had given away without knowing. Success, stability, and respect returned not overnight, but steadily. And it felt different this time. Not hollow or borrowed. Not because someone else wanted it to exist, but because I earned it for me. I was no longer a man waiting for validation from someone who never deserved it. Then there was the karma. I watched quietly from the sidelines as the consequences of her choices unfolded. Lunara's world, once built on deception, crumbled. Kavan left. Work reputation shattered. Apologies poured too late. And every time her life faltered, I felt a calm certainty. This wasn't satisfaction, it was justice. Nature correcting itself, life balancing the scales, and me finally witnessing it without involvement, without desire to harm. I had lost much. But in losing, I had found myself. In walking away, I had walked toward freedom. In silence, I had gained peace. And that's when I understood betrayal ends where self-respect begins. I didn't just survive. I thrived. I took my life back.